everyone. Maureen Kwende here, your podcast host, learning leader, researcher, speaker, coach, consultant, and author of the book, Dream Big and Live Your Dreams Boldly. I am the CEO and founder of EMK Learning Solutions, LLC. It's exciting to be back on the show another week with an empowerment topic and a special guest that I would like to introduce to you. But before I do that, I want to take a moment to extend my appreciation to you for being a fan of this podcast. Oh my God, I'm so grateful that every week you guys tune on, you download, you share, you comment. I see all the hearts. I see all the love that you're showing to the Empowerment Minutes podcast. I see the community growing by the day. And it means a lot to me. And that's what gives me the energy to do this every week. So I'm just really, really grateful to you all. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. So now for the upcoming weeks on the Empowerment Minutes podcast, we would have a Dream Big and Boldly series where myself and the guests on the show would share how we've lived our dreams and strategies to help you live yours. So hopefully the experience is that it would add value to you and help you live your dreams boldly, right? Because this is the beginning of the year. We want to make sure that this year we are as intentional as possible, the way we're spending our time, the way we're valuing, our time here. We don't want to just waste time. This 2022, we really want to make this year to be different. What are those big dreams, right? And what can we do to live them? So this upcoming series, we're just going to look at different areas, right? How we can really leverage those areas to grow ourselves, to make our dreams come true. So yes, I know you're waiting to find out who this guest is. I'm so excited to introduce to you my special guest, Kemi. Thank you so much, Kemi, for honoring our invitation to be on the show. So before anything, let's just go ahead and get started. Can you introduce yourself?
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for having me today, Maureen. Really, really appreciate it. My name is Kemi Akindutire, and it is a pleasure to be here, as mentioned earlier. By way of introduction, I think I'll just bucket my, at a very high level, I'll just say, in three dimensions of myself, and there's more,
Okay.
as you can imagine. I'm a woman, right? And I see myself from that perspective as an enabler.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I've been designed to, and I'm wired to really help individuals, organizations to execute on their dreams, on their visions, on their goals. And I do that through a number of ways, right? In the corporate world, I'm a human resources professional of over 17 years.
Wow.
I've been in project management, through, even in that space, also worked in various spaces, including volunteering, using a lot of these skills to help organizations become and execute on their dreams, their visions and mission, if you will. I also coach. Along the line, I got certified as an executive coach. I am also an execution accountability coach, where, I really help people again, on an individual level, drive that accountability to help them with those tough goals that they have to achieve within a short time period. Also just working nonprofit organizations to really do the same thing. I'm a wife, second bucket, happily married to an extremely supportive man, amongst many other qualities.
Wow.
And I'm a mother of two daughters, little ones, 4 and 2, and they keep me on my toes, but I love it through and through.
Yay, that's really, really exciting. I like the keyword there, you're an enabler. I would remember that, as help my guests remember that too, and where they can find you to see how you can help them. Yes. And how they can tap into that. That's very exciting. We have quite a lot in common, I would say. We're both coaches, we're authors. We also have an HR background. For me, my area of specialization is learning and development, and so I have shared on this show how I got into learning and development, which is a training aspect, learning and development aspects of HR. And so I've shared on this show that I got into it accidentally when I was working for a corporate organization. So anyone who wants to listen to my story about that, you can go to episode 2 of the show. And then, so I'm curious then, you, Kemi, you've been in the human resources field for over 17 years. But how did it start? Like, can you share your journey? How did you get into it accidentally like me? Or were you always interested in that area? What area, specifically interests you about HR?
Good question. And yeah, it's an interesting one because you're right. A lot of people accidentally fall into HR, but I was not one of them, kind of. So my
Okay.
story is actually, when I got interested in HR when I was getting my bachelor's degree in sociology.
Okay.
And prior to that was supposed to be, the first step before I went to law school, because of course everybody told me that I was supposed to be a lawyer, right? And I was going to do that, just like many of us, right? They're put in a
Yeah.
box. But I took a class in sociology of work and industry at the time. And I went to the University of Botswana. So it was just a very different, environment. But I got so intrigued by the concept of really focusing on the people aspect of, of organizations and the corporate world, because actually, even with the law concept, I was going to do corporate law, right? And so I just got fascinated and started researching the field and everything. And, as a result of that, had to negotiate with my family to say I was doing something different. And then I went to grad school, and got my master's in human resources and industrial relations. And I've been in the industry since then, been privileged to be in amazing roles, to grow in that area, being an managing programs, managing projects has actually bubbled up as a key competency for me, honestly. Amongst everything, compensation, I've done a little bit of learning, just had the opportunity to dabble into a number of areas, but that has stood out for me in general. And it's really still part of my journey, right? You think about it, even as a coach, it was along the journey that I discovered, coaching and help people along the way and everything. So it has really shaped who I am today.
That's very exciting. You got a rich history there going to Botswana. That's one place that it's on my bucket list to go there someday. But
let's talk about it.
I love traveling, and I have, two small children like you, and I hope one day when they grow up, I can do some fun things like that. So that's very exciting. Thank you so much for sharing with us. So now, in line with our series, right, the Dream Big and Bold, this series we're talking about, would you describe yourself as a dreamer, a high achiever, and can you share how you have lived your dreams or are living your dreams today?
Yeah, very good question. I definitely would describe myself as a dreamer, and I believe, honestly, in general, I feel we all have in us that capacity, the ability to dream and to achieve beyond where we are right now. And just that being said, and just personal experience, obviously, where I am today is a result of the dream I had years ago, or a variation of it. I've always wanted to, I always have in me, hey, just there's this thing that's like, it's never enough, right? And so even in my book, as you mentioned, yes, I'm an author, and, my book, Success to Significance, how to identify, plan, and execute on your kingdom assignment. I talk about this concept of the journey versus destination mindset. And it is really, when I think about being a dreamer and achiever, to me, I see myself as being on a journey that will continue. I continually live and dream about the next phase, and it gets bigger and it will continue to evolve, because I truly believe one dream achieved, it kind of results in the next one,
Another
next
one.
assignment that you need to do. So think about, from I am a woman of faith, right? And
Yeah, I am.
I base a lot of my lens, I try to channel things, in a practical way through the Bible and the parable of the talents, for those who are familiar with it, kind
I
of
love
stand
that
out to
talent.
me.
Yeah.
You think about it, it's like, hey, just like you get a promotion, right?
Yeah.
You do well in one job and one role, and it's like you get rewarded with more, right?
Yes.
You get rewarded because you've proven yourself that you can excel in the 1 or the 5 or the 10, whatever
Mm-hmm.
is given to you, and then you can be entrusted with more. And so that's how I see life. So where I am right now is, the book I published recently. I see this just the very beginning when people tell me, oh my God, you've published a book. I'm like, oh my God, you have no idea what's in my heart to achieve. Oh my God. I'm like, this is like nothing. I feel like it's like a little seed, and
Yeah,
there's still so much to become, so much influence, so much impact.
absolutely. Wow, that's great. I honestly believe that, being a self-published author, it's part of you living your dreams, and I'm just so excited about that aspect. And I know we're going to talk about it shortly, but let me just find out, how did that idea come from? Well, where did
Good.
that idea come from, actually?
So yeah, let me take it from 2 dimensions. So the first dimension is, where did the concept of even writing come from?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I did mention, I got my bachelor's in sociology, and so if for anyone that's familiar with that field, there's a lot of research and writing and all of that goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
I've also been, I've always been a journaler. I journal, if there's one like that. Like, I journal a lot. I express myself. I find this comfort, or it's become so natural for me to express myself in writing and just expressing my thoughts and getting it out of my head.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because I'm an introvert, I don't know. But but one of the things that stood out to me, when I started reflecting on how did I get here and how did I discover the whole writing, and I kind of was like, oh my God, I can do this, was even when I was in undergrad, and we will have these exams. They used to be like 3-hour
Mm-hmm.
exams at the end of the year, which was 70% of all our entire grade. Can you imagine? You spent the whole year,
Wow.
and everything you do, all the assignments, just 30%. That sit-in is like 70%.
Wow.
And different from the American system, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in those 3 hours, I remember loving those experiences, because I will write and write and make my point and everything, and I'll use up the entire 3 hours. Not because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what to do, but because I loved writing and I wanted to milk every single moment. I
Yeah.
ended up getting an award for the best research paper and everything. I was like,
Oh,
wow,
nice.
got published in the newspaper back then and everything. So that's like the writing piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
The topic itself was really inspired by Nehemiah in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that? The guy, in my mind, the video I read about him years and years ago, and it was like, well, I saw him as somebody who, he was living a, successful life in my mind. So thinking of
Mm-hmm.
success to significance. Yes, he was in captivity, but he had probably one of the better jobs. He was serving the king.
Mm-hmm.
He was the cupbearer. He probably was making a good income. He was going to do well, even though, compared to his peers and everything. And he had access to greatness,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he hears a conversation, maybe his friends or whoever, a group of people talking about his homeland in a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else had the conversation, they moved on. He had that conversation, he couldn't move on. Something sparked in his mind. Significance started calling, right? But he did a number of things. He took the spiritual aspect,
Mm-hmm.
and he prayed, he spent some time really praying, and then he did some planning. He did some planning. And you know what that did? He thought through the resources. What do I need? How long do I need to get there and everything? He took some time to really research that story. And by the time the opportunity came, and the king, he was in this, he probably was in a bad mood, he was worried or whatever. And the king was like, what's going on? He was ready to tell his plan, what he needed, the resources, and he was able to get the favor. Imagine if he was like, let me think about it, I'll get back to you, when the king was like, what do you need?
Right.
He probably might have missed the opportunity. So to me, I just found that, and you can go on and on with that story. There was so much packed in there, and I cover a lot of that in my book. Because he went through a lot of challenges, the ups and downs of execution, which is a core part of my book also, and also tying that back to my personal experience, which I'm still on that journey, as I mentioned. But it's really about having, understanding what goes beyond being successful. Hey, good job. You could retire really nicely. You have a family, whatever, you have a house. Success by the world standards, but what's beyond that?
Right.
That inspired living beyond yourself, that impact, that influence. And then to me, income is next, right? So, and I think truly believe that income, the finances, the benefits come naturally when you are in that space as well. And you have to put in the work and everything. But that's kind of what the essence of that book and where that came from.
Right. That's powerful. Yeah, it is. Is it powerful? Many times I've read Nehemiah, but I haven't looked at it the way you just shared. So it's got me thinking maybe I need to go back and read it myself. But that's deep. That's very exciting. So when I think of the book, like the title of your book, and when I think of even just success to significance, right? You're thinking about areas of personal growth, right? Where you're growing yourself, in the different areas of your life, how how you can grow and how you can measure it, right? And so then what are some of the strategies that you can share that people can get to the point of applying it to our lives, get to the point of from success to significance so they can live their dreams?
So the way I think about it is the first step, the foundation, it needs to be really solid, right? To say, hey, when you get to that place when you're really thinking through, you're really questioning, your definition of the definition of where you are, who you're becoming, what is it, really taking the time, speaking of being practical, to really sit down and say, okay, what is my, I call it an it in my book. What is it? What does significance look like to you? What is it that's bothering you about the current state? And some will call it your vision, some will call it your dream, right? Some will, what is it that has been put in your heart that God, your maker, has put in you, just like Nehemiah, right? He sat down and he was like, he heard something. So sometimes it might be you heard something, you see something, something that has just all your experience, right? You might have experienced something that you're like, I don't want anybody to experience this, or you observe something, whatever that it is. And it could evolve over time, but I'm using this figuratively. Taking the time to define it. I'll give you an example of how I started discovering my it. I talked about, for instance, some of, part of it is your skills, your talents, your passion, and all of that, which we could go into, if we talk some more. But I remember sitting down at some point, going back to my resumes, my performance reviews, and everything. What are people saying I'm really good at? I remember looking at what are the skills and things that are the common threads. What is it that I've noticed that I'm like, okay, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of that solution. Those are the kind of things that you need to sit down, and sometimes it takes somebody else to help you draw it out, and everything, because it's in you. You just need that somebody to help enable you get it out. And then the other thing I'll say from a practical perspective is planning. A lot of people, having a dream is so exciting, right? I want to write a book. Oh my God, this is exciting. Or even, and all that. But there's work that goes into it. Yeah. And you need to think through the details. Make a plan, take the time out, just like, any other project you're given, think of your life as your project, or this assignment as a project. How would you put that together and prepare for it? And then I'll say, invest in yourself. There's so much that is packed into that. Sometimes it might be that you're like, I love to do this, I'm good at this, but I need to evolve my skills. You talked about development, right? Yes. I need to get a certification. Sometimes the certification just gives you confidence, even though you know how to do it. You get access to additional tools, you get a coach, you get a mentor, invest. Sometimes it will take you money and it will hurt when you invest that money. And sometimes I've heard so many stories about, hey, I invested X amount, and it's like, oh my God, is this what people do? Yes, that's what people do. That is what people do, right? That they invest in it so that they can, and then you see them step out. It's because it's a resource. It's enabling you. And I also tell people this, that especially if for instance, you might have a 9-to-5 and you have a stable job, a stable income, but you want to do something more. I want to set up a nonprofit and everything. And you have that dream in your heart and you're like, oh, I don't have time, or I don't know how to, or I need some help. Think about your income as a portion of your income, as a gift that God has given you to invest in the dream he has given you. Yeah. You see what I mean? And so thinking about that. So there are some things, there's accountability. There's so much that we can pack into this, but they're really, I have a lot of practical, tips in there, to just really get you started. And most importantly, just start.
Yes. Many times people would say, I've wasted so much time to do this, and, but in essence, you have to start, right? as long as you
Mhm.
start today, you might have wasted time through, but what are you going to do about it next, right?
Mhm.
As long as you start today. So this is great. Wow. Indeed, most times people don't really take time to discover like who they are, like, and why, ask tough questions like, why am I here, right?
Mhm.
Looking for ways to even coach themselves to see if is what I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Are you living your dream or someone else's dream, right? What,
Mhm.
how can you, embrace when people are saying you're good at this and that's not what you think you're good at? How do you then take action then to say, okay, if 100 people are saying this, then there's a pattern. And then what am I going to do then to do with all of this information? Am I just going to keep listening and just not doing anything? Definitely we have an assignment, right? As even as your book says, right? So what are you doing to fulfill that assignment? So this is
Right.
very, very exciting. And once you said it's about the foundation, right? How you're grounded, because when even in different things in a different fields we're working in, or maybe you're a consultant or maybe you're a director, whatever you're doing, right? Personal growth, it is from the inside, right, before walking your way out. So
Yes.
how have you then strengthened yourself from the inside? Because it gives you confidence, right? And it gives you the fuel that you need to be able to do the things that are outside, right? So that's
Exactly.
why I'm very excited about this book and the golden nuggets that you've dropped here today. And so I was going to ask you next, you know, um, what if someone really has these ideas, right? But then they're like, okay, I have a dream. I don't even know how to go about it. You mentioned that, you're an enabler, right? So then what's the next step if someone was to read your book? Do you have things like workshops? Because just like we watch movies, right?
Right. Yes.
Movies sometimes are created from books because not everything is in a book, right? So it,
Exactly.
it has to be brought to life. So then do you have an opportunity where do you have workshops?
Yeah.
What do you do to further this conversation and help someone in the practicality of things and enable them? What are some things that you do?
Thank you. Good question. Yes, and so the book is the starting point, right? I
Mm-hmm.
do two things right now, and that are the first is one-on-one sessions,
Mm-hmm.
one-on-one coaching sessions, and so where I will work with you, customize to your needs, help you design and walk you through identifying your it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of walking through that plan. What should that plan be? And I also help, with accountability. So I do one-on-one accountability coaching
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, 12-week session where you're like, okay, I have a specific goal I want to achieve within a certain time. And boom,
Mm-hmm.
let's kind of aggressively go through it and everything. Again, we celebrate progress versus perfection, but we
Mm-hmm.
want to see progress at the end of it. The other thing that I do is also, actively right now is group accountability sessions, which is also a way to do it. It's not just one-on-one with me, but with, maybe a group of 6 people, a cohort of 6 people come
Yeah.
together. You have
People
offline
can learn from their
content that's
peers.
shared and everything. So those
Mm-hmm.
are the two main ones, as well as additional offerings that will be coming soon. So from my
Yeah,
on my
that's
website,
exciting.
yeah, my website, the kemiakindutire.com, more to come on that. But those are the two main ones that are available now, and I should be opening up a group session coming soon.
Okay, great. So what I would do then, because our podcast has show notes, so I'm gonna put your website link in case someone wants to further this conversation. They can find you online. Can they also find you on LinkedIn? On these
Yes,
different social media platforms? Okay, that's
absolutely.
that's great. I mean, I feel actually like chatting with you all day, but I know we've come to the end of the podcast, and I know you have to do to work on other things, but we always wrap up our podcast with a signature question. And the question is, what does empowerment mean to you? So if for example, you're a coach or you're a leadership expert, it would apply to that area. And I know
Right.
earlier on you shared, one of the things you're known for is being an enabler. So then
Yes.
what does empowerment mean to you as an enabler, as a coach and a consultant?
Yeah. So for me, when I think of empowerment, it's really um, pointing you to the things that are within you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And helping you draw the truth out, the truth that you've been trying to sort out, and pointing to you the resources and what's outside of you to help you achieve your dreams. I believe everybody has what it takes to get to where they need to get to. It just needs to be nurtured, right? So just like a seed, yes, it has so much potential, but for it to become a tree or to produce any kind of fruit or add any value to anything or anyone, it needs to go through the process. And sometimes you need additional support. And so that's why where I come in, helping you to really figure out what it is and what you need to do, and work alongside with you to enable you to become who you've been created to be.
That's great. That's great. That's great. So I just want to, that's powerful. I'm going to stop here and thank you for wrapping us. Thank you so much for wrapping us up. And anyone who is interested in furthering this conversation to go from success to significance and how to go about this, it's really empowering. And I hope, everyone has been blessed who's been listening to this podcast. I want to thank you so much, Kemi, for taking the time to stop by and give us this golden nuggets on how to journey from success to significance, and to encourage the listeners out there that as long as you start today, it's not late for you to fulfill your dreams. So I would like to wish you, Kemi, the best of luck in your personal and professional life. And to our listeners out there, I would like to thank you again for tuning in to this wonderful episode. I would like to say be safe, be well, and I will see you on the next one. Au revoir, adios. Bye-bye. Thank you, Kemi.